Yeah, I think in the core of the work that I do for climate justice, so in my day-to-day, basically I fight the fossil fuel industry and kind of trying to stop gas expansion up in northern Australia across what is known as the NT and WA, so Northern Territory in Western Australia, where there's like the hugest gas projects on this continent and across the southern hemisphere actually being proposed, where traditional custodians and frontline communities have been living sustainably for so long, but are facing risks to country, to communities, to water, to the climate, to quite literally any front you could possibly think of. And so I think the way that I kind of sustain myself in a world in which you're both like processing a lot of bad information all the time, but also trying to advocate for something better is by maintaining the roots of why you do something. And I think for me, I think that's always been a caring for creation and thinking of climate justice as an act of love. Where, yeah, it's not necessarily just like about the negative emotions that often sustain us in this line of work of climate justice, but actually thinking about how movements that have been sustained for multiple generations are built off foundations of love and healing and growth and sharing and collective liberation and community, as opposed to feelings of anger or hatred, which really can't sustain you over a long period of time. And so I think it's really important to find communities like this where you're actually sharing and meeting together and finding connections, and a shared love of what you do, because it's for the bigger picture. And I think, that concept of love and creation, I think, is very much at the centre of a lot of the work that I do.
So just, I think, two things. I'm just in awe really of what I've just heard, so I'm taking all that in. The two things for me that sustain me, a friend of mine, Stephen Wright, has just published a book called Fugue, and its subtitle is Climate, Crisis and Contemplation. And I think even though I'm a fairly rampant extrovert, I know that I need my introverted space, and the lure and the delight of contemplative practices, I guess quiet activism, really do sustain me, and I need collective space of silence. So I love my Quaker meeting, where we hold stillness for an hour, and that does sustain me. And as a member of the Iona community, where activism has been the watchword, campaigning on the streets, it has felt counterintuitive to say that, to admit that, but I do publicly more and more. So quiet activism, and then simply jumping in any lake or a bit of water, however cold, and usually the colder the better, that reminds me that I'm alive and part of this remarkable creation.
For me, it's, like I said, it's been a journey, but with me, I've always learned from my oldies that no matter where you are, you go there with respect, you go there to listen, and they said to me once, respect don't come in a can or a bottle, you have to earn it. And I think if we have respect for one another and we listen, nobody wants to listen, and you have to listen, and then you make up your own mind to whichever way you want to go. Just recently, I just want to share one thing with you, is I'm 81 years of age, and I had to have an Aboriginality form to state that I was an Aboriginal. I had to go to my friend who was Aboriginal, who was a JP, to sign it to state that I was Aboriginal in my own country. And I didn't know what to do. I thought, why? I've been an Aboriginal person for 81 years, and I still have to have a form to state that I'm an Aboriginal. And that was, to me, it was disgusting. But I've lived with it, and I'll continue to live with it, but I'm pretty sure that in my journey that I will make it a better journey for the next generation, and for my children and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren. Because if we don't all do that together now, it's never going to happen. stand up and just gather our thoughts again and do what we need to do. And we can be powerful in just listening to one another. Nobody's ever come to the table and asked us what we would like, ever. So hopefully one day, in my lifetime, I hope, that will happen. So thank you.
For me, it's the strength of the elders that have gone before me, those past and present. And so I think of Barangaroo and Bennelong. I think of Pearl Gibbs and William Cooper. I think of Auntie Jean Phillips and Uncle Reverend Graham Paulson and Auntie Alex Gator. And I think of Auntie Ali and Auntie Beryl. And many others who have inspired me in my life to never give up. And I see them in this parable, and as I think about Jesus, who inspires me each and every day, who unsettles me, and I call Jesus the great unsettler, who unsettles me in heart, mind and spirit each and every day, and that's how I know I'm walking the good path. And so as Jesus said, then Jesus told his disciples a parable to show them that they should always pray and never give up. He said, in a certain town there was a judge who neither feared God nor cared what people thought. And there was a widow in that town who kept coming to him with the plea, "Grant me justice against my adversary." For some time he refused, but finally he said to himself, "Even though I don't fear God or care what people think, yet because this widow keeps bothering me, I will see that she gets justice, so that she won't eventually come and attack me." And the Lord said, "Listen to what the unjust judge says. And will not God bring about justice for his chosen ones, who cry out to him day and night? Will he keep putting them off? I tell you, he will see they get justice, and quickly." When you're the world's oldest living, continuing culture, quickly maybe has a different kind of time frame. But we must all call out day and night, be inspired by those elders as I am, and be persistent and come together. And so I will continue to call out, "How long, O Lord, how long?" And may you join me in that call and that cry.